What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Me TV Reviews. I am your host, Mo, and tonight, y'all, one of my shows has come back again, y'all. Reasonable Doubt, y'all. That's right. This is season 3, episode 1, titled Feelin It. I hope you guys have had a wonderful start to your weekend thus far, okay? I hope you guys get to relax and rest up because we all need that at this point, all right? So without further ado, let's go ahead, get into the synopsis for this one real quick, and then we're going to get right into the episode. So the synopsis for this one is: feeling restless and undervalued, Jax jumps back into the ring when an ex-child star and his entourage of enablers land on her doorstep with a mess only she can untangle. Okay, y'all, so with them coming back, they did a 1-2 rollout of 2 episodes. I'm only going to do the one because that's all I had time to watch. I'll come back for episode 2 at some point, hopefully this weekend. I can't promise nothing, okay? Y'all will probably get it next week, maybe 2 and 3 together. I'm not sure at this point. But either way, I'm going to give y'all a real quick gist of what happened with episode 1. It was a lot of different moving parts to set the tone for the season. So let's go ahead and get into it. If I'm all over the place, y'all, charge it to my head and not my heart, okay? So this episode starts off with Jax. She's knocking on the door and she's asking to come into what looks to be Naima's room, okay? But I'm not sure just yet. So she ends up going in. She didn't get an answer as to whether or not she could come in the first place. But either way, she ended up going in there, and whoever she found on the floor, like I said, it made her really, really upset. She started screaming. Yeah. Okay, so maybe Naima was found unresponsive. I don't think this is Spence, because Spence is actually at he's at boarding school, but it's for like the arts school that he's at. Okay. So anywho, we jump back to 6 months earlier, and Jackson started her usual morning routine where she's waking up and she's doing her run up the hill. Y'all remember she's getting faster and faster with this thing. Starting off the show with a great song selection. Y'all, this show song selections never fail. Okay? Rich Boy Sell It. Yeah, throw some D's. Perfect song to set the tone. Okay? So she's getting her morning workout in, and then of course when she goes to shower, Lewis comes in and they get a wham bam, thank you very much, ma'am, done in the shower. All is well on their front, which is good for them. It seems like the therapy worked out a lot for them. They had a lot to work through last season with Lewis cheating, with her cheating, with him creeping and stepping out on her and creating a baby, and then losing the baby. It was a whole mess, right? So they seem like they're past that right now. They still have their hiccups, as we see throughout this episode, but for the most part, it seems like they're trying to get past it as a cohesive unit. Okay, so they're all lovey-dovey, and Naima's like, ugh, I want to throw up in my mouth. It's very unfortunate that Spencer's the one at boarding school and I'm not, so the way that they talk about these kids, y'all, why did Jax end up saying that Naima been acting like a little witchy poo since Spencer been gone? Now, I can't remember what happened in the last season, but I feel like Spencer had started vaping, and then Naima had caught on to it, and she was like harboring this huge secret for him, right? So I don't know like what's going on with her. I know she's like growing up and maturing, and I feel like she started her period, or she started going through puberty in the last season, or it might have been at the very end of the first season. Anywho, y'all, Naima's going through the changes, right? So, I don't think they was really paying too much attention to her last year versus Spencer. Spencer was going through a lot. Them kids be going through a lot. So, Jax, after they see her off to school, Jax and Lewis actually go to this, what is it, like a mediation? I don't know what it's called, y'all. Either way, Tony, who was the girl that ended up creeping with Lewis and got pregnant and lost the baby last year, is now suing Jax and Lewis. So we're catching up on the back end of that. She served them the papers literally the last few minutes in the last episode of last season. And so apparently they've been at this thing for years, still trying to like figure out what a good happy zone is for everybody. So Tony wants what did she say? $750,000. She was asking for $750,000 in order for her to agree to sign this NDA or whatever it was, right? And so they was like, oh, hell no. Now, Jax done hired a lawyer, but the lawyer that they hired ain't doing enough for Jax. He ain't living up to her standards. And so she, before he even have a chance to object or get anything out, Jax is coming to their own defense. Do you hear me? And was like, yeah, now tell her what I said. Like she just didn't hear what you said. So she doing so many outbursts at this point that the lawyer was like, after they got done with mediations for the day, he was like, hey man, look, I get that you a lawyer and all this, and you are very emotional and fired up about the situation, but you did hire me to do a job, okay? So let me do my job. And so words were exchanged, and long story short, Jax ended up firing him, and he was like, this is the best news I've heard all week. Bye-bye. Adios. So Lewis was like, wait a minute, hold on, Jax. Don't you think that it would have been wise to talk to me about this first? I mean, that is the third lawyer that we done been through. Okay? So she was like, yeah, I know, but I just want to win. I just want to get this done. She pisses me off so bad, you know. I feel so mad. I feel so angry. Yeah, that's how Tony makes her feel. Okay, so Lewis done caught an attitude about it because he feels like, you know, Jax is just being overly aggressive when she tries to see, she needs to try to see the human side of Tony. At the end of the day, you thinking that we done had a bad year, but Tony has also had a bad year. Not only did she get pregnant, but she also lost the baby. Okay. So that's a lot. And then Lewis didn't even go to the funeral. So, you know, she had to go through that by herself. It's a very, very, very complicated situation. Okay. So she ends up going to work and Lewis goes to work as well. And, you know, he's still starting up his company, his tech design or his game. He does game designs. So he ended up interviewing this guy named Sam. And Sam is coming from Philly, right? So, or yeah, he ain't up there in the D. So I believe he came from Philly, and he's another black guy, you know, he's very down to earth. He's very fluid with the programs and stuff that they use. And so Lewis is feeling really positive and very hopeful about him being added to the team. Okay. And not only that, but he's black as well. Now, don't get him wrong. Okay. He loved his colleagues and one of his ace boon coons at the workplace. Okay. But it's nothing like having people that come from where you come from who understand you, that can relate to you a lot better, right? Culturally. So we'll see where this goes. But for now, he's hired. So there's that. Now, Jax ends up going to work. And Crystal and Daniel are there. Now, Crystal she passed the LSAT. So she's trying to maneuver too. I don't know how that's going to work as far as like, you know, her gaining her hours. I don't know what she got to do to shadow folks. I don't know. So anywho, Jax gets there. And she gives them the news that whatever case she's been working on, the person has decided to plea out, which it seems like is a more frequent occurrence at this point. Everybody just seems to keep pleading out versus trying to take stuff to trial. Jax she just wants to be, you know, like, she lives for the mess. Okay, she likes the drama. She works very, very well under pressure. And so that's what she wants. That's what keeps her paid, you know, going to trial. Need the money, right? So She ends up having a meeting with her other partners, and the other partners are talking about the hours for the quarter, and apparently Jax is still, she still needs some more hours. She needs some more billable hours, right? And so they ended up talking about considering bringing this guy named Bill on, who has been there for about 6 years. Okay. And Bill is being played by our guy Tommy. Okay. I love it. I love it. Joseph Sikora. Listen. So, anywho, that's Bill. Bill has been there for 6 years. Like I said, he works over on like the civil side of things, more civil cases versus criminal cases. And so he's been bringing in the money hand over fist. Okay. So they really wanted to bring him up to where they are as far as the partners go. They want him to become a partner. And Jax was like, oh, hell no. No. What are you talking about? He's only been here for 6 years. Y'all wasn't even considering bringing me in as a partner until I got to my 8th year. What are we? But I was like, Jax, you have to remember that you're a Black woman. Okay, you have to work a little bit harder. You have to work a lot longer to get where he's trying to get to a lot sooner than you. That's just the reality of it, okay? So, and I mean, the truth is, he's just bringing in money. And at the end of the day, the money talks. So she's feeling the way about it, and she tries to highlight this one particular point where he had messed up in this one case, and they was like, I mean, we hear you, Jax, but honestly, let's just table this for now. And I think that was just to kind of shut her up. Okay. So they table it for now. And then she ends up going to go meet up with this lady named Monica. Now, Monica is the agent over this guy named Ozzy, who was his child star, right? And she's trying to get him to come in and consider his options about having his ex, who was a stylist of his, sign, this NDA. Now, according to Monica, Ozzy is trying to transition from his child star roles into like actual movies. Okay. He's trying to really make a serious name for himself at this point. And they feel like whatever he got going on with Wendy, it's not gonna last. They're talking like he's gonna get ready to break up with her. Okay. They've been through a lot. Apparently she got some bones that she can dig up. Okay. And they just want to keep her quiet. Okay. They want her to take this money and go off into the sunset and let their son go be. Now, Monica is being played by our girl. Oh my God, what's her name in P Valley? Anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. It's not Mississippi. It's it'll come to me, y'all. So anywho, y'all know who I'm talking about. So she's gonna be the agent. His dad Sal is there, and Sal is his manager, along with his mother, who is not there. So like I said, they're trying to get him to have his girlfriend or soon to be ex-girlfriend sign this NDA. And they seem to be doing a lot more talking than he is. But after a while, he was like, hey, look, I really just want to get through tomorrow and then we'll talk more about it. So tomorrow happens to be the day that he's getting this big award from like Black professionals. And not only is he getting an award, but our guy, Mr. Corey Cash. Yeah, Mr. Morris Chestnut himself is getting an award tomorrow. Now, this is for the work that he did on Chanel's case. Now, remember, Jax was working behind the scenes on Chanel's case as well, and I think even in the front. But anywho, he's the only one that's going to be getting awarded. So Jax is already feeling the way about that too, but you know, Corey is down to share the spotlight a little bit, just a little bit. So they try to get through the day, And Jax gets home and she's talking to Lewis, and Lewis and her still butting heads, like I said throughout the episode, about what they're going to do about Tony. And it seems like every time they have a conversation with her, the ante gets upped a little bit. She wants more money. I think the next time they end up meeting up with her, she now wants $1.5 million. And before we get to that, I'm sorry. Lewis had took her out to dinner. And they were finna get ready to sit down and eat when this guy that Jackson knew from another law firm came up, and was just saying, hey, and then walks up his date. His date happens to be Tony. And so he was like, oh, I see that y'all are familiar with each other. And she was like, yeah, they killed my baby. I was like, you know what, Tony, you were sure setting... Girl, this is not the place nor the time. So Jax definitely matched her energy. And Lewis was like, why you got to sit up here and do this with her every time, Jax? Damn, you don't think that I don't want to go back to that place when I want a good specific meal? You don't think I don't want to go back there? Now I can't even show my face around there. Okay, it's embarrassing. And she was like, you want to talk about embarrassing? So then he starts to get really vulnerable with her and tell her that he really feels like all of this is his fault. If he would have just possibly went to the funeral, to show his support for her, despite the fact that he felt like he wasn't emotionally strong enough to see his son in the casket, which is fair, okay? But you're not the only one suffering either. So he was like, I feel like it's my fault. Now I feel like she's just trying to get back at us, when really all I think she needs is closure. She just needs to have somebody connect with her on that level emotionally. Maybe I just need to apologize to her. Maybe I just need to talk to her one-on-one. And so Jax ends up saying how she feels like at the end of the day, she does trust Lewis, but she just feels like at some point Tony, because she's so spiteful and upset about the events that took place, that Tony eventually is going to try to come back in between them again. And I was like, well, the only way that that's going to happen is if Lewis let her do it. Okay. So he was, professing his love to Jax, so on and so forth. So anywho, at this awards ceremony, because Jax did end up getting invited by Corey, she did go. Okay, so at this award ceremony, Ozzy is there with his with Wendy. And so, Corey and Jax are catching up, and she's telling him how the office is whack right now. She doesn't really have anything like work-wise is gonna really spice up things around there, really have her wanting to come into work. Okay? Really trying to focus on work. That ain't happening right now. So as they're talking, here comes Ozzy. And he's introducing himself to Corey, this, that, and the third. And so Jax was going to shake his hand like she already knew who he was. And he played it off like he had never met her before. Okay? Because he has his girlfriend, Wendy, there, who he's supposed to be breaking up with. So he plays it off, and he was like, I'm really just trying to figure things out. And so they go through the whole award ceremony. Corey gets his award, and he makes a joke with Jax talking about, you want to touch it? Now, y'all remember last season that they fooled around. Did they, or was she dreaming? I feel like they fooled around. But anywho, that was that, right? So they joking around, and then Jax ends up seeing Ozzy at the bar. And she ends up talking to him, telling him some real stuff like, I see how your parents really try to speak for you, and it seems like they do the more talking for you and not really letting you find your own voice, even though you are the star of the family. And then she goes on to say how her dad, I always wanted her to go to law school and be a lawyer. Meanwhile, he over here being like Pookie from New Jack City. Okay, long story short, your family may want something for you, but if you don't want that for yourself, or if you want something different for your own life, then you have to find your voice and speak up. So he's telling Jax that he wants to be with Wendy, that Wendy is the one, that he wants to marry her, and start this family with her, despite her being almost 10 years his senior. Okay, his family don't really like her like that because she's white, and they feel like eventually, he's going to lose majority of his audience because, let's be real, Black females, we support everybody. That's the truth until you give us a reason not to. So they feel like he's going to lose a nice portion of his core audience if he steps out and makes everything like super official with Wendy. And it is what it is. They don't really see it for her. Okay. So, the conversation that he has with Jax allows him to later have a conversation with his mom. He goes over to his parents' house, and she was like, "Oh, what you doing here?" And he basically tells her that not only has he reconsidered having Wendy sign that NDA, but he wants to marry her. He wants to get rid of his parents as his manager, and he no longer wants to do the movie that they were trying to present to him so they could sign off on this big movie deal. So the mama was like, "Oh, if you was planning on ruining my day, you could have just did that over the phone. You didn't have to come up in here and tell me all of this." And y'all, that mama's mouth was, that mama's mouth was sharp. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? She read that lady for filth. So, needless to say, the mama don't care for Wendy at all. But the same can be said for Wendy, seeing it from her perspective, because the mama was like, "Look, before you ride off into the sunset with she called her," y'all cover the baby's ears because I just have to repeat this the way that she said it. And I'm sorry, y'all. She said, "Before you ride off into the sunset with your cum guzzling something else." I was like, "Oh, mama." So inappropriate, y'all. I got to tell you something about her. There's something that you need to know about her. We don't see what she told him. Okay, but whatever it was, he confronted Wendy about it. And she got super pissed and was like, "You know what? I can't believe that you allow your mom and your parents to manipulate you to this extent." And basically gives him the ultimatum, like, "It's your parents or it's me." And he was like, "Well, you're not denying what she said, so is it true?" And she was like, "I'm not finna fool with you no more. I'm not finna fight with you no more. I love you, but I'm not finna do this with you nor your parents. If you want to believe them, then that's fine, but just know that me and you are done." So as she's walking away, he's screaming at her like, "Where are you going, Wendy? Wendy, I'm Ozzy." Whatever his last name is. So it's given privilege, okay? Entitlement, if you will. Because he is a child star. Now, that's not to say that Wendy ain't got her own bag, because Wendy is a stylist, like I said. So when she don't show up for her next gig, Cash Doll is coming, okay? Cash Doll was like, "Hey, so she was supposed to style us for this event, and that's not like my girl to not show up and be professional. So I need to fill out a missing persons report." So she give the description, and she even says that she went as far as to call Ozzy, and Ozzy was like, "And so what? I don't care that she missing." So of course they call Ozzy down to the station, okay? And they're, "Oh, Ozzy, what's up, my man? How you doing?" Man, I watched all your episodes on your shows, man. I watched all 6 seasons of that thing. Woo, you was funny. Pow, pow, gotcha. Y'all, I don't like the title of the show that he was on. It sound... The name of the show was called My Cousin and Them. If that don't sound, if that ain't stereotyping, y'all, I'm telling you, I don't like it. But that's the show that he got famous off of, okay? And he was like the neighbor across the street that was like always into some stuff. He was mischievous, y'all. So anywho, they got him down at the station. He was like, we loved you on the show, Ozzy. Pow pow, gotcha. I guess that was the slogan. So they start asking him questions, talking about Wendy, and then they start kind of like leading him into some of these answers where at first he was denying that they had an argument, but then the way that they worded the question, he ended up admitting that him and Wendy had gotten into an argument. They ended up finding her bag, and I believe the phone as well, thrown out on the side of the interstate. Okay, which is totally unlike her. And he just kind of like brushing it off like, oh, that's odd, but she does weird stuff all the time when she gets upset. And I was like, yeah, but ain't nobody finna throw their purse out. Ain't nobody finna throw their phone out. What are we talking about? No. If anything, I'm gonna keep my phone so I can call my friends so I can vent. Like, can you believe what this fool just said to me? Something like that, but I'm not finna throw my phone out. And I'm definitely not finna throw my purse out. That's got all my IDs and stuff in it. So, no. So, anywho, he's dismissing it like that's her usual when she's upset. And so then when they start talking to him like he's a suspect, he was like, oh, I'm just gonna stop the questions right here. Okay? I'm just gonna stop this right here. And so he ended up calling Jax. But by the time Jax got to his house, y'all, Corey was already there. He was like, well, I called him first, but he didn't answer. So then I called you. And so he was like, yeah, I called him first for optics because, I feel like he's a guy. He would empathize with my situation a little bit more, because he a man. He understand where I'm coming from. And she was like, I don't give a damn if I'm a man or a woman. The fact that you are a black man and you're messing with a white woman who is now gone missing and you have not made any serious effort to go find her, the police already are looking at you. Like, it was already on the news, like they had a suspect that they, were looking at questionably. That they had a potential suspect. Okay. That they already had in mind. We talking about him. She was like, yeah, the fact that you didn't even go looking for your girlfriend. Yeah, no, you need a woman to represent you. So here I am. Okay. Don't say nothing else to nobody. We gonna figure this out. So she ended up getting Daniel to try to get in contact with his connect down at the police precinct or whatever to see if they could try to find anything. Now, while all of this is happening, Bill done got called into the office by the other partners, and they was basically telling him, so like, hey, we were considering bringing you on as a partner, but it seems like, we're just going to have to, we're going to have to curb that for a little bit longer. Just need a little bit more time to mature and to grow. And so he was like, oh, okay, I've been here for 6 years, and I think he said he was in the Coast Guard. And so, he lives by a certain moral code. And so he was like, I just want to know what I can do to expedite me possibly getting promoted to partner. And so that was like, oh, we got some ways. So next thing you know, he's taking Jax to lunch, right? And y'all, when he came in the first time we were introduced to him, y'all, that was playing Jay-Z, and I love it. That was playing Say Hello. I love that song off the American Gangster album. So anywho, they're playing that, and he ends up inviting her to lunch, and he sits down with her, and he gets straight to the point, like, hey, girl, I'm just trying to see what your gripe is with me, because I'm really trying to get this partnership, and for whatever reason, I feel like something that I may have said or done to you may be hindering that process. And so she was like, oh, no, I just feel like you need more time to grow. I mean, it took me 8 years to get where I needed to go. So, I mean, you ain't really did a lot of criminal cases. You're usually on the civil side of things, okay? I'm over there too, but you're not really over here with me. So, I just feel like you need a little bit more time. That's it. That's all. And so he was like, okay. So then I guess he kind of like assessed the situation and was like, yeah, I ain't gonna win that way. So he tried to go around the other way and start talking about families. And so he ended up showing her a picture of his kids. Y'all, he's got 3 beautiful babies, okay, who happen to be biracial. So she was like, oh, I didn't know you had a black wife. And so then she ended up asking him, how did y'all meet? And he was like, oh, we met on Black Planet. Y'all, when he said that, I hollered. Because kids will never, these generations will never know about Black Planet and coding. And y'all, when I tell y'all, we really could have took jobs in IT. Everybody that was on Black Planet. And yeah. We could have excelled in IT had we just kept going. For real, y'all. So, anywho, he's just playing with her. And so he was like, no. We met in law school. She's a lawyer now, but she does like, she works downtown and she does like building inspections or something like that. She works on that side of it. So I was like, oh, okay, there's definitely got to be a hidden agenda here somewhere, okay? But for now, he's playing nice with Jax, but behind... So, so Jax done put Daniel on the case as far as like the LAPD and tapping into his connect there. And then she ends up peeking into Bill's office and was like, hey, so we just had this case pop up and we're not sure where it's going to head. It may end up being a criminal case. You want to join me? And so he was like, oh, yeah, I think I could help you. And so, so then he was like, yeah, I could just call down to the coroner's office to see if they've filed it, if they have, and look at their Jane Does to see if Wendy may match one of the Jane Does. Just to kind of tiptoe around and so they won't suspect us. And I was like, oh, he is slick. And so she was like, okay, cool. And as soon as she closed the door, y'all, they started playing Future Mask Off. I was like, oh, yeah, he's definitely hiding something. Not only is he hiding something, but as the song is playing, y'all, Ozzy he's just got out the shower. And he is wiping the mirror off. Y'all, why he got all these scratch marks on his chest? And he just yells out this guttural scream like it was a primal scream or something like that. Like, it was crazy. Like, I know his throat was hurting after that. Had to. That had to be a one and done type of scene because I'm not going to keep doing that. You ain't going to have no voice. Do you hear me? So then, what else happened? Lewis. So Lewis ended up going to go meet with Tony. Just like on a one-on-one. He had met up with her at like a Starbucks or something like that, right? So anywho, he met up with her, talked to her, and so then by the time Jax came home that night, he was sipping. He was sipping on the good liquor, the expensive stuff. And she was like, oh, this must either be really bad or it must be really good. And he was like, probably both. So he ends up telling her, she said that she is willing to drop the lawsuit. Because by this point, y'all, the lawsuit had ballooned to $1.5 million. I believe I told y'all that. Okay. The lawsuit had ballooned to $1.5 million after they had that back and forth at the restaurant. And she was saying how she felt threatened by Jax. Her life was in danger. And Jax was like, man, please. Okay. In danger. So he was like, yeah, she's threatening. She's agreeing to drop the lawsuit only if she can have one more night with me. Now, I wasn't expecting him to say that, but what I was expecting him to say was she's willing to drop the settlement if, or the lawsuit, excuse me, if I have another baby with her. That's what I was expecting. But I'm like, one more night? No, that don't sound right. It's gonna be like on some blackmail type stuff. It's gonna definitely be on some get back. Now we know that Tony is, upset. I do really feel like at some point she did really develop feelings. It's late, y'all. I'm sorry. Feelings for Lewis. Okay. So maybe she figures this one last night just to be like, hey girl, I got your man. I got your man again. This is definitely just some get back at Jax. Okay. But I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if we'll see Spence at all this year. Probably. Maybe 2 or 3 episodes. Maybe he might come back and try to talk some sense into Naima. I don't know what's really going on with her. But yeah. I'm trying to think, did I get everything? Ozzy. Yeah. Joseph and yeah. Corey, yeah. Jax, yeah. Okay. And that's the way the episode ended, with Jax dropping the F-bomb after hearing that. What are you willing to endure to not have to pay her that 1.5? Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it, okay? It's a really good start to the season. Like I said, they did 1 and 2 together. I just didn't have time to do 2, y'all. I'm sorry, okay? It'll come sometime this weekend, I'm sure. If not, it'll be early next week, all right? Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it. You can reach me at Me and You TV Reviews on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also reach me at My TV Reviews Podcast without the S on the end at gmail.com. I love y'all. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Please stay safe out there, y'all. And until we meet over the airwaves again, I am Mo, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.